Login accepted.
Okay, welcome. I forgot my sunglasses, so I barely can see you. So I will just have a few questions at the beginning, and then we just move on. Right, so the title of my talk is Pimp My GitHub. Anyone watched Pimp My Ride, maybe? Oh, quite a few people. Okay, great. So unlike Pimp My Ride, nothing what you will see here is glitter and useless toy, right? So how many of you use GitHub? Great, and keep your hand up if you are using it as your work, as a part of your work. Almost the same, cool. So, yeah, for most of us, or some of us, it's a central piece of our work. And despite of continuous user experience improvements within GitHub itself, there are still quite a few things we can do better. So what I'm going to share with you today is a way how I customize my GitHub, and so the tools I use on a daily basis to improve my productivity. Because after all, what we want to spend our time on is working on some interesting problems rather than fighting the tools or fiddling around with the mouse so we get distracted and then we go do something else, right? Right, but if there is going to be only one thing you will remember from this talk when you leave for lunch, is refined GitHub. It's a browser extension with tons of great UX improvements. It works for all major browsers, and quite a lot of features actually ended up as a part of official GitHub UI. Sometimes I'm even confused when I hear GitHub announcement on Twitter is, hey, now you can review a code and fold the files and et cetera. And I'm like, hey, I have it for like 5 years now, so what's the deal? Okay, so that's all with the slides. Let's see some fireworks. Let's go to GitHub. So when we go to GitHub, the first thing we see is that there is a lot of empty space around. And it's even more evident if we go to some file. I mean, leaving aside that we shouldn't have long lines. So we can actually fix it by installing an extension, which is called White GitHub. So I'm going to go ahead and add it, and then I will close everything, refresh, and you see it's already better. If we go back to our main page of the repo, you will actually see that everything is also white, so we are not wasting space much. But there is one problem with it. And the problem is that it's still quite boring. It's all gray, so let's pimp it up. We can install an extension called VS Code Icons, and then close everything and refresh. And now we have some visual help, right? Because icons are for quick and easy navigation so that we can comprehend symbols quickly, right? So I can, for example, see that there is a makefile and the readme in ASCII doc in no time. Right, so let's go and install the famous refined GitHub extension. I go to the GitHub repo, and I have to scroll quite a bit because it's a huge project. And then I go and I find the Chrome extension. I go ahead and click on it. I install, I refresh, close everything, refresh. Yeah, it opens up some new stuff as well, so let's close it quickly. I refresh, because that's a JavaScript thingy, and now I can actually fold it. That's a cool feature of refined GitHub. That's a very minor one. OK, so next thing. We did some visual improvements, right? So now, how do we navigate? Are you all clicking around using GitHub? In general, I believe it's very good to know your tools inside out. Because when you know, for example, IDE key bindings, you are doing things way quicker, right? So it's very, very important, at least for me, to memorize some. And actually, GitHub and majority of other online services give you shortcuts. For example, Twitter and Gmail does it as well. So if we go and press question mark, then what we will see is a list of shortcuts we can memorize, right? So we can navigate easily. because we type GP, it goes to pull request. We type GI, we go to issues. We type GA, so GitHub Actions. GS goes to security. And there is also GC, which brings us back to the code. But on top of it, there is also a nice command palette where we can navigate just by going through the list on the top, or we can actually run commands specifically. So we click Ctrl-Shift-K, and we can open the web editor right on GitHub, and it will open the current project we are looking at. And we will get back to these things a bit later in the demo. Right, so while we are poking at the code, let's go ahead and maybe find some tests, because it's an easy way to learn about the code base or API, assuming that there are good tests, but most of the libraries do have them, I believe. So let's go to the repo back and let's search. So I type T, and then I start typing test go. Code is not really relevant, it's just for the sake of the exercise. And then I scroll down, and it's kind of boring. I hate scrolling. So we can do better. We can make it more IDE-like. So I go and install another extension, which is called code folding. And now I can actually just refresh and hide all the boring pieces, right? So I can just, without scrolling down, I hide everything. I mean, all IDEs have it, so it's not rocket science nor magic, but it's, for me, pretty cool if I don't have projects in my IDE or in my local hard disk. I just can do it here. OK, so yeah, we look at the tests, and this particular one is a bit smelly, this one, because it says that the latest release should not be the latest release if we read the code itself. So we can go ahead and think, OK, let's open an issue. So in order to do so, it would be good to share the link, right? But the problem is that if we share such a link, it links to master, and master is a moving target. So if I open this issue or any PR later on and someone links to master, it might be gone or it might be entirely different. It might be actually fixed, right? So there is one very useful thing in GitHub, except of marking down the lines, then the link is changed. It just points to exact region. If I hit Y, then the URL is changed, and we point to the last hash we used. So we can go ahead and open an issue for this. GI and C creates the issue, then we can start thinking about what to type in it. So yeah, some confusing logic, I don't know, of latest release, test for v00, so boring. Yeah, we remove the handy instructions because we don't care about it. It's my project after all. We paste the link, and we put some description because we are good citizens. The test above has confusing logic, expecting it fetches latest release, and expects that it is not latest release. Right. So we can create it now. And what we see is a preview which points to exact same code which we are looking at, the smelly code. And we can actually fold it if we want. Right. So it's already quite a good contribution opening an issue on open source project, I mean complaining, but we can go a bit further than that. We can try to fix this mess. So let's go ahead to the main repo, and we can use Codespaces, which is a built-in VS Code running in the cloud. You can sign up for it. It's in beta. Usually it takes a day or two, and you can use it right away. So we have the repo open. We're going to create a branch. So git create branch, test fix, I guess we name it. So we close the README first, because it's a noise. Go to the package, and I think it was command release underscore test, and we can scroll down to find this guy, and we can start reworking it. So I say v version. I will explain later on what is this. That the current version is a v underscore version, and if I pass it to my method or function under test, it should be false. So the thing here is that the v version is a field or a field in the struct, which is set to v00, and if you compile it with the version when you release it, it's set to something else. So It will fail, obviously, because it's a different logic now. We need to fix it as well. It will fail for two reasons. So this test is using Gog. Gog is, you can think about it like WireMock or maybe something like this. I've been in Go world for too long. I don't remember Java anymore. But it mocks the external service. So I have it mocked. The problem is that it will be, after first interaction, it will fail. So we have to go up and fix it with the persist option. So then we can call it multiple times. Right, and then we go and fix the test, the logic under the test. So we rename the field to release version, and then we call our latest release, which calls the API, assign the variables, so that's the latest release, and the error we can actually ignore, because it's a demo for the conference, and then we change the comparison, because we want now to compare latest release. And now we have to fix this line number 10, because Go is complaining about unused import, otherwise it will fail, the compilation will fail. And now we can open our terminal and run the test. So everything within the browser in the containerized VS Code, and we have all the tools we need. I haven't installed anything on my machine. And we got the green bar, yay. Okay, so all good. Let's create the PR from VS Code. So I now go ahead and we'll commit everything. And we do, I don't know, we type fix test, reworks, v00, test, whatever. And maybe mention in the description that we also fixed the logic in there, so maintainer will know exactly without reading the code that's what the change is all about. Happens to be me, but hey, that's a demo. Yeah, latest release. Okay, this is too long, so we removed maybe in fact. Right. Okay, so now we can do all of it at once. And create the PR straight from VS Code, the Codespaces from GitHub. So I check if I'm targeting the right branch. I again remove all the clutter, because I know it inside out what's expected from me when I open an issue. And maybe I just link to the issue as well. So I say fixes hash 21 was the number. And yeah, we publish the branch. And I think with that, we can go back to, no, we actually stay here. It opens up automatically, right? So I have already a PR. I can start reviewing it if I want, which is funny. But you can do all of it from the VS Code, from the Codespaces. So yeah, let's go back to the repo. And I will review it now, because I'm entering the maintainer's world. We were with the other user contributor. I have another account for testing, so I'll just sign up with this. It's using actually the same Gmail account, which is funny, because add plus test and it comes to the same mailbox. It's a dashboard I rarely use, so it's not even here. Let's go back then to the previous link. That was the pull request, probably reload. Right, so let's go to the pull request. Here is a cool thing as well. If you use the Panda bot or other bots, refined GitHub will make the PRs from bots dimmed, so they are not visible easily, because it's a noise, right? So we go to the code with G4, that's refined GitHub, and we can fiddle around. There is a tree which is default GitHub now, but I hide it away because I like the other one much better. It's called improved better pull request for GitHub. So I installed this extension as well, but you can use the one which is built in. It has very similar features. I reload, and now I have icons next to it, which is already nice. It looks a bit visually better, but similar to what's built in. I can view the files. I won't really review it now, but I probably will just mark something here. No, yeah, maybe let's mark. So I can just make that it's viewed. You have this nice checkbox here. It's hidden, and you see on the sides of the tree that it's marked that everything is viewed, right? So visual assistance, which is handy. So I can say, looks good to me. And here again, this is simplified, because I can approve using one button thanks to refined GitHub. And this will be already done. Otherwise, I will have to select something from the dropdown. But we installed refined GitHub, because then I can't do it anymore. So let's approve. Now it's approved, so I feel happy-go-lucky. I will squash and merge. But I don't like the title of this PR because it's not fixing test. So I will say something a bit more elaborate, but probably not the great English. I say fix release, and then I say, I don't know, reworks, how check, how latest release check works or something like that. Fairly redundant, but what happens now, GitHub kills the branch, so branch is gone. But refined GitHub also renamed the title of the PR. So that's already handy because you get consistency. And there's a plethora of features which are there. I clicked on the issue just to show you that if you click, if you refer, it's closed automatically. Right, so it's just the tip of an iceberg, what refined GitHub is showing you. It could have been like 50 minutes, just whirlwind tour of this stuff. Just go ahead, install it, and you will see experience is way better. So let's get out of the browser, because I'm not the browser guy. And we're going to fiddle a little bit with the GitHub CLI. I just have few demos more, and you can run for lunch. GitHub CLI is a fairly new project from GitHub. And it lets you interact with GitHub API through shell with some convenient commands and subcommands. It's created by people who made Hub before. That was another project. It's just written from Ruby to Go. And it's, of course, now backed by Microsoft, so by GitHub. And there is more feature parity. It's awesome if you automate, because the scripts which are not using curl but operate through this command line utility are way easier to read if you like Bash, for example. So I just go and say GitHub help, and we just have a peek what we have available. So you can create issue, you can work with PRs, you can do the release, you can essentially do everything, even open the browser or create the gist. So, and there are cool things which I'll show you as well. So I'll just list my PRs now. So I see PRs. I want the PR number 19 because that's the first one I see. So I say git PR checkout. And it will just fetch the code, switch to the branch, and I'm ready to go. So that's convenient. Before I had some weird alias. So now, there is also extension mechanism. So you can have cool extensions, or you can actually write extensions your own. So I say GitHub extension list, and I have 3 which I'm using. Actually, I use 2, but I installed another one to show you. So clean branches will take care of removing branches which are gone from the origin, so from the remote. But they are still on your local version. Label will let you automate label creation, for example, or update. And there is Dash. And Dash, if you don't like GitHub PRs in the browser, will open it in the shell. And you have this fancy little pull request list fetched, and you can do work. So if you have many monitors or you are more into shell, great stuff. Now, I told you that everything what I mentioned has links which will be shared. So this is the file. I'll create gist out of it. So I cut again. I pipe it to GitHub CLI. I say gist create. I make it public because by default it's secret. And now you have 1 second to memorize the URL. Right? Yeah, just kidding. It's bit.ly pimp my GitHub. So that's the tour of tools which I love, and I use them on a daily basis. If you don't use them, give them a try. Experience is way better. And there are honorable mentions. The tools I used, I don't use them anymore. So Octo3 is the one. It gives you the side panel on the GitHub repo. And you can search, you can navigate, and it's pinned to your repository. It comes with 2 flavors, free, which is very minimalistic. You don't even have icons. And there's a paid version when you can have, for example, multiple file tabs within the GitHub repo. It costs $5 or $10 per year, I don't remember, so you can support the project. I find my setup enough for me, so I don't use this much. Then there is a link, enhanced link for GitHub issue, and this will just give you the status if it's closed or not. It's handy on the other PRs which cross-reference, so you know exactly if it's red, it's closed, if it's green, it's open. And that's all I have. Thank you very much for coming. It was a bit longer than 15 minutes, so not that quickie. But I hope you liked it, and you're going to give it a try. This is the link if you want to grab your phone and make a photo. Otherwise, enjoy the last day of Devoxx. Go grab some food. And thanks a lot for coming.